Religion, okay, I knew this day would come, so I think I'll just get it over with. Anyways. When I started change therapy, I did not have a religion, nor a faith, nor a personal relationship with God, nor anything like that. So, most of my therapy didn't have any religious motivation. But early in this year, I did join a religion. Shock, horror. So why haven't I mentioned it before? It is simply that homosexuality is primarily a medical condition that is psychological in nature. It has been mapped out by psychologists and can be treated with psychotherapy. You cannot use religious faith as a magic trick, nor as a medical treatment. Does my religion give me an incentive to keep up the change process? I suppose, but not much of one. I'm sure that if I abandoned religion I would still keep up the change process. After all, I pursued change before I had a religion, didn't I? Normally, people do it the other way around, they embrace change because they have a religion. I, on the other hand, embraced religion because I had experienced change. I just had to be different, didn't I? Smiley face. Some persons may disagree with me, but I do not believe that trusting in divine powers alone will change the sexuality of anyone. I am not mocking the faith of others, however. It is simply that homosexuality is primarily a medical condition that is psychological in nature. It has been mapped out by psychologists and can be treated with psychotherapy. Religion is an immense source of wonderful encouragement to many persons undergoing reparative therapy. However, you cannot use religious faith as a magic trick, nor as a medical treatment, so it will not treat you. For measurable change to occur, such efforts must be accompanied by a proper psychotherapeutic treatment. One time I read an ex-gay message board run by a Christian ministry. I was shocked to see how some questions posted were replied to with entirely irrelevant information. For example, one man, who was obviously very distraught, asked a question which could be easily answered by quoting from one of the reparative therapy books published by psychologists. However, at least on this particular board, the only replies the man got were encouragement to trust in the Lord Jesus Christ. Medically speaking, entirely useless replies. The man had obviously been doing that already. Why else would he be rejecting the gay lifestyle and looking for help from a Christian ministry? So nothing was said to help the poor man with his problem. Can you imagine how frustrating it would be to go to the doctor after contracting a terrible rash, and hearing him tell you, just trust in the Lord, and it might clear up? Using spirituality alone to treat a psychological, medical issue does not make sense. I do not hire a plumber to do my garden, I do not hire a joiner to fix my taps, and I do not hire an electrician to fit new windows. Psychological problems, like homosexuality, should primarily be treated with psychotherapy. However, I am not dismissing the huge support, encouragement, affirmation, and resources that religion can offer to strugglers. Cheesy does it. I've noticed a common theme among guys who first enter reparative therapy, or any effort at change, or try leaving the gay lifestyle. They desperately want to stop masturbating and looking at pornography. So what is my own experience with masturbation and pornography? Well, personally speaking, I can say that the desire to do such things dwindles as therapy progresses. I've heard other guys say that too. It's not until you stop wanting to look at porn and masturbate so much that you realize just how much of a compulsion it really was. So preventing myself from looking at porn is a simple thought to myself of, no, I'll stop here. I won't do that. Whereas before it was, oh, why can't I stop doing this? So, in a nutshell, therapy does make avoiding masturbation and porn easier. For the most part, eventually you'll simply forget about it. You simply won't need to avoid the problem because you won't have the problem. Bad life, how awful the gay life really is. Today I was in town to look at a gallery I wanted to see, and bumped into an old work colleague of mine, and like most of the men where I used to work, is gay as can be. Anyways, he still works there, so I just had to ask him how awful and bad the place had got since I left, not because of me leaving, but because the place is a farce. Sure enough, it's still good awful. Anyways, in the course of the conversation he mentioned his ex. I haven't been taking my therapy very seriously recently, so I took the opportunity to learn a bit more about how gay his life has been. And oh, how gay men can talk. And talk and talk and talk. He told me everything. I opened the floodgates of the heavens. He told me about practically all of his past boyfriends, very numerous. Throughout everything he told me there were several running themes: drugs, crime, breakups, unfaithfulness, disease, and suicide. It was like listening to some sort of very depressing soap opera. He had lost 3 former lovers to suicide, while the others had betrayed him. Now he complains that he has no friends, and those he does know are people he had met on the internet. This guy is in his mid-30s, I guess, and seems well adjusted to the gay life. He said he enjoys it. But what kind of life is that? Everything he said sounded so typical. One of the more striking things that came out of what he was saying seemed to be the amount of mental problems, specifically the neurotic aspects, in himself and all his former friends and lovers. Talking to that guy today, and I talked for quite a while, has been one of the most profound experiences I've had in this journey away from homosexuality. The gay life is so worthless and destroys so many men who could really achieve something and be real men with real lives and real futures. I feel so sorry for him. I really do. He is trapped, but I have been set free from that psychological prison. I didn't think it possible, but I am even more convinced and determined to never lead a so-called gay life. Thank God for therapy. Night out. I had a good night tonight, therapy-wise. I've spent all afternoon and evening with my best buddies out on the town. They know of my SSA, so it was a guys-only, freedom of speech, partially rowdy night. Great stuff. They used to have nights like that all the time, but they never invited me because I was such a good little boy. Silly really, considering that it's not like they would always get plastered, drunk, and steal traffic cones and place them on top of bus stops, like I see others do in my town. But anyway, tonight after a brief phone call of "I'm bored, you fancy doing something," a night was quickly arranged. Wow. How's that for progress? A whole night out with alcohol, sports, and me thoroughly enjoying every minute of it. And absolutely no feeling of inferiority, feeling different, or feeling the outsider. No intimidation from anyone. And tonight we even started to arrange us all going away for the weekend to London for a brief stint of Covent Garden music. That'll be great. I've never had a holiday with straight guys before. What a great night. Healthy doses of male affirmation, attention, and all that. No more gay junk food for me, this healthy stuff is actually satisfying. I'm kinda lucky, really. But I've had these friends for ages but never really took advantage of this. Anyways, I'm off to bed now. Be true to thine self. Changing your sexuality is denying your true self, is a common phrase. It is really your true self? If it is, then it shouldn't be caused by stresses and problems in childhood. The amount of statistical evidence to support the idea that homosexuality is caused by environment in childhood is overwhelming. There is bucket loads of it. People assume that all of this data must, surely, have been disproved. Nope. It hasn't. In fact, it continues to be confirmed. The reason you don't hear about it is because it's simply ignored, kept quiet, and oppressed. Here are the more common things affecting gay men in early life. These are simply common. Not all gay men have all the typical symptoms. In fact, some gay men have none of them, but many do. Gender nonconformity. Avoiding competition and rough-and-tumble play with other boys. Feeling intimidated and rejected by other boys. He misses much of the bonding and companionship with other males that helps form his own confident masculinity. His father didn't encourage him in masculine pursuits, for whatever reasons. This is called gender identity deficit. He is an outsider, the kitchen window boy who looks out the window at other boys playing while he is kept separate from them in the home with mother. Sensitivity. Takes criticisms very personally, and is easily hurt. He detaches from other boys due to fear of being hurt, either physically or emotionally. He avoids typical rites of passage into manhood. Introspection. May be obsessed with being different and special. The good little boy. Relationship with dad. Gay men have a painful longing for the affection they wish their fathers had given them. Unlike heterosexual men who may look back on a bad father with regret, gay men look back with scorn and bitterness. The father was either abusive, or just seemed uninterested. One report said, there is not a single even moderately well-controlled study that we have been able to locate in which male homosexuals refer to father positively or affectionately. Relationship with mom. A close binding and overly dependent relationship between mother and son is common. The gay son may be mom's friend. He feels better understood by her, yet the relationship is ambivalent. He feels both angry and appreciative toward her. He may collude with her against the father. He may need to feel sorry for his mother and give her the emotional support that she would normally get from her husband. Peer isolation. Because of upbringing, the boy doesn't feel as comfortable around his own peer group. He is different and may suffer from extreme loneliness. On the other hand, he may have lots of friends and be very popular, but fails to truly connect with his peers and doesn't feel like one of the guys. Early sex abuse. Some studies support the claim that sexual molestation is more common among gay men than heterosexual men. Eroticization of emotional needs. Every boy needs male role models and to develop his own masculinity. But if he is cut off from the world of men, defensively detached from them, for fear of being hurt, his desire for masculinity will be eroticized during adolescence. Dr. Jeffrey Satinova, a change therapist, says, when puberty sets in, sexual urges, which can attach themselves to any object, especially in males, rise to the surface and combine with his already intense need for masculine intimacy and warmth. He begins to develop homosexual crushes. Via homosexual sex or fantasy, he cannot help admit that the relief is immense. This temporary feeling of comfort is so profound that the experience is powerfully reinforced. Soon homosexual activity becomes the central organizing factor in his life as he slowly acquires the habit of turning to it regularly, not just because of his original need for fatherly warmth and love, but to relieve anxiety of any sort. By the way, there are a huge number of surveys conducted all across the world which support the above facts. See the NARTH website and books such as Reparative Therapy of Male Homosexuality or Straight and Narrow. For references. After studying reparative therapy to great depth, I have been able to trace the development of my own homosexuality. I have no shadow of a doubt in my mind that I have developed homosexuality in childhood. I know why. I know how. I know why I am gay, and I don't think it's much to do with my genes. Misc stuff today. Halloween is approaching, and I notice the gay media are gearing up to celebrate it. How fitting, a time when people celebrate the dead and all the freaks come out. Ages ago on one of the People Can Change support boards, a man posted the following info. I recorded it because I thought it was neat. I'm afraid I can't remember who wrote it, so kudos to you, whoever you are. 10 reasons homosexuality never works. 1. It provides masculinity through femininity. 2. It is like curing a disease with the same disease. 3. It is a small, narcissistic victory through a big defeat. 4. It provides intimacy with a man, but destroys manhood. 5. It provides a relief of the anxiety of merging into the phallic mother, but it strengthens the tie to the mother even more. 6. It provides physical incorporation of another man's male sexual organ, but destroys the psychological internalization of one's own male identity. 7. It is an artificial means for self-esteem regulation, but it destroys one's own self-esteem. 8. It gives the illusion of being accepted by other men, but it increasingly estranges a man from the circle of men who are not gay. 9. It is a way to express repressed anger and aggression, but it makes a man more passive every time. 10. It avoids conflicts with other men, but it does this through surrendering and losing. Yes, I actually exist. Change is impossible, said one doctor. Well, I mustn't exist then. That's right, this page doesn't exist. In fact, I don't exist. I'm just a figment of your imagination. Change of sexuality is possible. I must admit, however, that I wouldn't have believed that reparative therapy could actually work, if it weren't for the fact that it did work for me. If it hadn't worked, I probably would have, egotistically, concluded that it mustn't work for anyone. Of course, reparative therapy is simply a form of psychotherapy. There's nothing particularly new or unusual about it. And as yet another form of psychotherapy, the success rates are typically in line with what you would expect of psychotherapy. Roughly, about a third experience good change, another third experience moderate change, and the remaining third doesn't experience any change. It's not spectacular, but considering it is changing something which is touted to be impossible to change, the results are remarkable. Note, this estimate is based on people who completed therapy with the help of a professional NARTH-approved therapist, and not people who have tried it for a few weeks, months and then stopped, or simply been a member of an ex-gay group in a church. It has to be noted that sexuality is fluid. This has always been the case. The gay world abounds with stories of straight men temporarily deviating to homosexuality. This is because sexuality is fluid, not fixed. It is not set in stone. It can even change over time with age and circumstances. So it's not very remarkable to learn that we can now manipulate it willingly. Contrary to what some say, reparative therapy does not, never has, ever, and never will, support efforts to change such as electric shock treatment, aversion therapy, drugs, hormone injections, or any other strange forms of treatment. Reparative therapy is psychological, that means it involves talking, reading, and perhaps, writing. Taking a break. Hello, this will be my last entry. I find myself very busy with other aspects of my life. So I won't be writing any further entries. However, just so you know, my therapy and journey out of homosexuality is continuing to go well. If there is anything the last nearly 2 years has taught me, it's that change is certainly real. While the journey has, so far, been a mixture of forward and backward steps, I've kept at it. And I've continued to see that the fixed and unchangeable argument for homosexuality is wrong. Sexuality in humans is a flowing thing that can certainly be manipulated. To deny this is to deny the basics of human nature itself, not to mention 80+ years of psychological research. Change in sexual feelings, whether from gay to straight or straight to gay, is in perfect alignment with everything psychology understands about the human mind. Saying change is impossible is like saying the sky isn't blue. To anyone who is just starting out on the journey of change, I say this: keep going, don't give up. My life is so much better now. In ways I never thought possible, my personality has changed for the better. I'm somehow more mature, more self-confident, and just an all-round better guy. Friends and family have remarked on it too. I cannot imagine life the way it used to be, with the depression, self-pity, which you only realize is there until after you get rid of it, the phobias, the inadequacies, and the reasons for feeling sad. Being 100% gay, as I was 100% worse than life is now. Change therapy, plus gender affirmation therapy, works. And that is a fact, no matter how much gay activists will deny it. My therapy will, as always, continue on. And yes, I did have that AIDS test done and I am still HIV-free. Yeah. Another reason to continue change therapy. Warm regards, Jake. The person who says it cannot be done should not interrupt the person doing it. Chinese proverb.